Hey folks, this is Vincent Natalie with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and welcome to the 2022 DGA Awards. I am Vince, of course, and by process of elimination, you figured out that this is
Idly.
Ida
Hello.
Lee. Yes. So we're back. We're going to be doing a top 10 board game list and a top 10 video game list. This particular video will focus on the board game part of that. These 10 games are games that we've played this year, but regardless of release dates. If I were a bigger fish, I would be sent a lot more games, but unfortunately that's not the case. So we have to sort of it'd be a very boring list if we listed the 20 games that we only played that came out this year. But anyway, so this list is top 10 games that we played in 2022, nice and simple. And because this is probably going to be a long video, we'll just jump right into it. So starting with my number 10, there we go. It's a little game called Canvas. Canvas is a fantastic, beautiful game. It has those clear sleeves that you can sleeve cards into as you play the game. It reminds me a little bit of Mystic Vale that way, but rather than this being a deck builder like Mystic Vale, you're going to be sleeving art into cards in order to try and get iconography lined up appropriately so that you can then earn victory points. Every game there's 4 different conditions that you're trying to meet, and those conditions can be randomized, and that's represented by like a red, green, blue, and purple ribbon. And you're trying to earn these ribbons by matching the arts and with the sleeves and getting the symbols to line up just right. And when you slide cards over each other, these clear cards over each other in the sleeve, certain symbols on the bottom will be overwritten. Others will stand out. It all depends on what order you sleeve them, what's in front, what's in back, that kind of thing. And the game plays in like 30 minutes, if that. And it's a beautiful game. It's fun. It gives me that Mystic Vale thing, but without the complexity of a deck builder. Did you
Mhm.
enjoy this game?
Yes, it was actually on my list, but then you mentioned it that it was on your list, so I replaced mine.
Yes, we should probably note that before we get any further. We did cross over a little bit, so we decided to replace what we thought would be like a close competition with another game on our list so that there wouldn't be any
Mhm.
crossover. There's
Yeah.
also some games on last year's list that I wanted to include, but I didn't want to repeat. For example, I had Terraforming Mars as a game in my number 1 or number 2 slot. But I'm like, you know what? I mentioned this in my number 1 slot last year. So I'm like, rather than it being that boring, let's pick different games. But I want you to note
Mhm.
that Terraforming Mars would have been on my list. And Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition would have been on my list had it not been already there last year. Did
Okay.
you have any such games that were on last year's list?
Actually, no, I didn't. Not at all. There
Okay.
was no crossover, but I think there were games on the year before.
Okay.
So
That's fine. That I'm not going to look that far back. I'm too tired. I'm
I
old.
think someone might actually be at the door.
All right, go ahead. All right, cut number 1 of 75. It's a busy day today. I'm sorry. Got deliveries, mailman, the dog barking, deliveries. It's just a mess. So this is gonna be a very rough and dirty video. Anything else to say about Canvas? I know I've said
I
a lot
love
about it.
I love Canvas. Canvas is a great game. It's a competitive type of game too. Like it's very sweaty, but it's very enjoyable. And this is one that I actually don't mind losing too,
Hmm.
because it's just that fun.
The only
But yeah,
take that mechanic really is just taking a sleeve or a card before someone else does, if they really
yeah,
need
or
it.
blocking it, with those points or whatever,
Hmm.
those little
There's little,
icons.
yeah, the little paintbrush things. Is that what you're
Yes.
talking about? Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's like your currency. If you want to pay for a card down the line, you have to spend that rare
Mm-hmm.
currency. A lot of games do that, where the
Yeah.
first card is free, and then down the line you have to pay extra to get those cards.
So you can like really strategize, okay, he can't afford this one next turn, and I can. So if I buy this one, or if I get this one, it'll move down, he still won't be able to afford it, things like that.
But then you waste all that currency, and if I pick up the card, 1 or 2 of the cards that you put money on, or not money, but in this case, paintbrush, canvas
Hmm.
things, then I'll get your currency. So yeah, it's
Hmm.
it's it's one of those chess games, but not chess. Like it's a
Hmm.
thinky game, but it's a lot of fun. It's very beautiful.
Oh yeah,
Um,
beautiful.
so moving on, I'm trying to keep this moving. Moving on
Sorry,
to
go
the
ahead.
next video. You're fine. What was your number 10?
My number 10 was Samurai Spirit.
Samurai Spirit, and the dog is barking. I told you guys this is going to be a very rough and dirty video. It's just the mailman, probably.
Are you
Um,
sure?
I'm sure. So,
Okay.
what about Samurai Spirit that interests you? It's a
I
cooperative game.
loved I loved the co-op aspect, of course. I think all my games are probably going to be co-op. Um, and I don't know, I like the whole challenge of trying to save like this whole village, and I actually feel like I'm kung fu fighting all these different people like coming at me, and I'm getting my butt handed to me sometimes because of the stronger people that come out.
Hmm.
And I like the strategy behind it. I really do.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Samurai Spirit is a cooperative game. Each player takes on the role of a particular samurai warrior, whatever.
Mhm.
And each one has a different power, which is nice. So you can activate different powers throughout the game. And it's essentially a math game. You're going to be stacking numbers on different sides of your samurai. Like some will be blocking, some you'll be fighting directly. And you're trying to get these numbers to add up to a particular value on your board in order for it to all cancel out. And if it doesn't, then you take damage and that kind of thing. You're also trying to protect the townspeople. I think there's like walls and houses and the like, and you're trying to protect the village from being burned down from these invaders. And I like that the game is customizable. You can customize the enemy deck if you want an easier or more difficult experience. Overall, yeah, it's a really cool game. I'm surprised that this was on your list though. Like I'm sure there were other cooperative games that you thought about
I,
putting
I
on here.
I did, but like Raxon, for instance, was one that I wanted to put on there, but I've talked so much about it, and I really did like Samurai Spirit. I would play this over and over again. I really
Really?
would. I don't know, it's fun to me. I like the challenge of it because it can get a little difficult, and I kind of like trying to do something that's kind of difficult,
Hmm.
with someone as a in a co-op
That must be difficult for you
sense.
because I like the casual game. So like I like a casual mode. I like the house rule for
Mhm.
casual.
Yeah.
But there is a solo mode. So if you're playing with someone on the more casual end like me, you can always play solo, control two samurai
Hmm.
separately, and play on the head banging against the wall mode if you
I
so choose to.
I like a middle of the road. I don't like the whole head banging, flip the table over,
You
that kind of
sure?
difficulty.
First
Yeah,
first
I'm
card you
sure.
flip, you're dead, and that's it.
No, I don't like that. I like a casual experience, but I like there to be some sort of challenge,
Uh huh. Yeah. Some semblance of hope.
Yeah, there you
A
go.
1% chance, but it's still there. I get it.
Mhm.
All right. So number 10. That was your number 10. My number 9 was a game called Parks. Parks is another beautiful, fantastic game. It reminds me a little of Tokaido in the sense that you are moving meeples down a track, and depending on where you stop, you get things. In
Mhm.
this case, you're trying to earn sun tokens and water tokens and forest tokens and mountain tokens, and you're trying to acquire these nature cards on the top. The nature cards are like all locations of popular forests, Yellowstone Park or whatever. But the art is so good on this; it's so well done, and the game is played over several rounds. And a new location card on the track where you're moving your meeples is added. So like the path becomes longer and longer and longer the more you play. So it's not just a typical path. It gets stuff gets added to it throughout the game, and it's randomized too. So you never know what you're gonna get from game to game with regards to the path. And there's upgrades, like you can upgrade your camera, and you can upgrade various aspects. You've got a canteen where you can take water tokens or spend water tokens to do a thing. It's really cool. This is on Tabletop Simulator too, and I think our friends really enjoyed this one as well. Did you
Yes.
have any comments about Parks?
So I love parks, but this is a game I get a little bit too competitive with. So, like, I would never ever be a competitive type of person where I would be a rude, obnoxious player. That's not me. But inside, like, I burn.
You burn because we're both going after the same location.
So, like, if you take a card that I want. It's like, oh man, that's the one I wanted. Shoot. But inside I'm like, oh, I'm gonna destroy you.
Yeah. Oh, dag nabbit. Meanwhile, you're like, how can I add arsenic to his lasagna? Mmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a really fun game though. I actually
Yeah.
don't mind playing this with you or with our friends because it is a really pretty game and it's fun and I like the strategy behind it where you have to take your person and choose how many spots you want to go ahead of another person.
Hmm.
So, it's pretty interesting. I really really enjoyed that
Hmm.
this one.
And like in Takedo, if you're the first person to get to the end of the path, like
Hmm.
there are reasons why you want to go on every single pathway spot to get the most resources. But if
Hmm.
you're the first one to the end, you get like a bonus, and you can actually choose your bonus, which is kind of cool. So
It's
it's balanced pretty well in my opinion.
it's weird because I'm not too fond of Tokaido, but I like Parks so much better.
Hmm.
And I think I like parks because you have these resources that you can take and you can apply them to a park that you can actually build. I don't know. I really like that. I like that you can apply the resources that you earn to a card.
I like the decisions too. Like, do I focus on these upgrades, or do I spend these resources purely for the card, for
Exactly.
purely for the nature slash location card? So
Hmm.
yeah, Parks
And, so,
was a definite keeper. I liked that one.
and it's another pretty game. You and your pretty games.
Sorry, it's very eye catching. I think it's very well done. Oh, the garbage people are here. Another interruption. Lovely.
Okay.
Ignore any loud beeping you hear in the background. All right, here we
Or
go.
we can just press pause
No,
and,
we're not going to pause. We're going to truck through because this is our most professional video ever. We're gonna
hey,
like yes, we're gonna go for a record of how many interruptions we could possibly have in one video. It's gonna
right.
be great, folks. Trust me.
We don't
Uh,
have an editor, so,
no, I'm the
you know.
editor, so I got to do what I got to do. Your number 9 was
LOTR, Journey to Middle Earth.
Lord of the Rings: Journeys in
Yes.
Middle Earth.
Lotter. Yes.
Lotter.
For
Yes.
the longest time, I actually didn't know what that meant. I'm not a Lord of the Rings person. So, I just said Lotter.
A lot. Yeah, that's just it's just a mystic forest in
Mhm.
yeah, Elvendale or whatever. Anyway,
Although my dad thought it was short for lottery. So, you
lottery.
know,
That's
yeah,
the Lord of the Rings version of the lottery.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
Lotter.
lovely.
So I like this game. This game, isn't it a co-op? It's a co-op,
It is
right? I haven't played it in
cooperative.
a
We
while.
each control two characters in our playthrough. Like there's multiple scenarios.
Mhm.
And it's app controlled too. So the app will tell you where to place tiles, when to place enemies. It'll track combat to a limited degree, but primarily it's a deck cycler. I don't want to use the term deck builder because you're not buying cards on a regular basis, but rather you get a deck of cards based on the class you pick, based on the character you pick, and
Mhm.
then a standard selection of cards. And when you're doing anything in the environment, whether it's combat or testing your might against something on the board, or your intelligence, whatever, you're going to be drawing cards. And these cards either have successes on them or they're blank, that kind of thing. Or it's a maybe in which you can spend focus tokens, which are those little leaf tokens that you see on the video there, to count as successes. So like it's more of a deck cycler. How do you get your deck set up, and what cards do you keep in your deck? Because you can actually play some of these cards in front of you on the table for permanent effect. But if it contains a success on it, then you're hurting your chances of drawing a success later, because it's in front of you rather than in your deck. So it's some interesting choices there. There is a very casual mode. However, I don't think it's casual enough. Even though we played on that casual mode, we wanted to explore every single nook and cranny, and we barely got to the end of the scenario one, and did it before the
Mhm.
time limit expired. I would love a less, even less time management mode where we can explore everything. In my
Mhm.
opinion, that would be a lot of fun. But as it
This
stands, yeah, go ahead.
mhm. Sorry, I was just gonna say that this game so reminds me of Destiny's, and I think Destiny's had better game mechanics, I guess. But I really liked Lord of the Rings because it felt like you were really exploring, and trying to uncover everything. But like you said, we couldn't explore everything. Wasn't there like a like 3 dogs we had to find in order to
Yes.
get
Yeah, that one guy needed
the
3 dogs.
boon.
We found like one or two of them, but the third one we couldn't. We either
We
didn't
didn't have
get
the time.
to right. We didn't have the time, and I'm like, I feel it hurts because I want to get all of these things done. When I play
Mhm.
Skyrim or any RPG, I do all the side quests first before I do the main quest. Unfortunately, in this game, you're timed. There's like this darkness that is spreading, and
Mhm.
when darkness becomes apparent on your map and it spreads to different locations on your map, your characters actually take damage, and it's bad. So
Yeah.
you have to keep moving. You can't do
Mhm.
everything. If you can accept that, then I think you'll really enjoy this game.
Yeah,
Um,
like I actually don't mind it, but at the same time, it does hurt that you can't explain everything. But the time limit is like a rush, and I kind of like it,
mhm.
that's just me.
I like this game too, and I would have put this on my list if it weren't for the fact that it was just a pain in the butt to set up and put away.
Mm,
It's component overload. Like in theory, it's a fantastic game. It's like XCOM. It's just it takes a long time to play,
hmm.
and there's a lot of components, and there's a lot of setup and a lot of things going on. It's fun, don't get me wrong. I really like the game. It's just how feasible is this for people on a tight schedule? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because I'm constantly doing other videos or whatever, it's like I don't have time to bring this out as much as I want
Hmm.
to. And then by the time I do bring it out again, I forgot on the rules. So now I got to reread all the rule book and all that. You know what I mean? So like
Hmm.
this is not a game that I could just easily take out and plug and play. This is a game I need to
Hmm.
prep for. And
Yeah.
that kept it from my list for that reason
Hmm.
because of convenience.
No, that should be on our next podcast, right? On
Games that
the
take too long to set up
yeah.
or to research or to
Hmm.
yeah.
And any game that has set up longer than the gameplay really should like take a look at themselves.
Yeah, yeah. Well, some people really like that. There,
Mhm.
there is a market for people that have 9 hours to spend on a game. I do not.
Yeah. I mean, if the game takes very long, the setup should not take longer, is what I'm
There
saying,
was a yeah, correct. There was a board game that we played called Taverns of Tiffindale or something like that, and
Mhm.
it took me forever to set that game up. And I even mentioned it in the video. I hated that.
Oh.
It's just that turned me off. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I like games that I can easily set up and put away, but they have a lot of meat to them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's the kind of that to me. That's convenience for me because of
Yep.
my lifestyle and schedule. But
Okay.
anywho, yeah, Lord of the Rings, excellent game. Journeys in Middle Earth.
Hmm.
My number 8. Let's go ahead and close that. Is Paleo. Paleo is a cooperative game where we are cavemen. Well, more like we're managing a tribe. We get multiple cave people, and we're trying to keep them alive. But our ultimate goal is to, I think it's sketch 5 parts of a painting or something
Hmm.
like that, like a cave drawing before 5 bad markers come up because we didn't have enough food or whatnot. I really like the exploration mechanics in this game because what it does is you draw 3 cards from the top of your deck, and I think you get to choose one of them, and you put the rest back. So it's like you have to, but the cards themselves don't tell you what's on the reverse side. You're only looking at the backs. So you might see a mountain on one card or a meadow on the other. So you can kind of guess what's going to be on that reverse side of the card, but you really don't know until you flip it. So every turn in this game is stressful because you don't know what you're about to be up against. You can assist your friends in this game. You can assist each other by lending tools or whatever, but for the most part, like you need to manage your equipment well, you need to manage your people well, and hope that RNG doesn't kill you in the process. I don't know, I like the theme. I really did, and I would play this again wholeheartedly. There are multiple scenarios. We played like the first easy one, but there are multiple ones to play. What were your thoughts on Paleo?
This was a co-op, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. We worked together.
This was on my list, but you there was a crossover to it.
Ah, okay.
At least I'm pretty sure, if
So
I remember correctly.
what made you add this game to your list? Anything
Oh,
stand out?
man, I love this game. This game, it's like you really have to manage um what If I'm remembering it correct.
Yeah, be warned,
Yeah.
folks. We cover 200 games in a year, board games alone, not video games, but board games.
Hmm.
So it gets a little muddy
Yeah.
remembering these
So,
things.
it's tough to manage like your health and your food and the weapons that you're carrying, I think.
Yeah,
So, I don't know. I like the whole caveman thing, the caveman theme, and I love that every card that you flip, you have no idea what's coming to you. It could be good or bad.
could be a
And
saber-toothed cat that's gonna
hmm
you have to fight and it's gonna claw your face off.
yeah.
There are rewards on cards that you can like take the minimal amount and you can put back in like berry bushes or whatever. You can take just like a little bit of food and then put the
Hmm.
card back in your deck, or you can take a one time a lot of food, but then you have to trash it. So there are some
Yeah.
meaningful decisions to make as you go as well.
Yeah, I think it's really fun. It's a definitely decisions matter type of game,
Hmm.
I think.
Your
And
decisions matter.
it's enjoyable.
Hmm. What was your number 8?
My number 8 was Egghead.
Egghead, so weird. Of all the games to put on here, like I expected
Yeah.
Dimension. Was Dimension on last year's list?
It was on last year's list.
Okay.
Yes, and I wanted to put that on there, but no crossovers.
No crossover. So
But that's
Egghead,
okay. There's a
no,
lot of good games out there.
yeah, that's fine. Dimension, just real briefly, is
Hmm.
you're stacking balls on a pyramid like tray, and you're trying to meet conditions. This yellows cannot be touching reds, or two blues have to touch each other, and you're trying to puzzle
Hmm.
it out. Um, but Egghead here is more of a logic puzzle. It'll tell
Yes.
you how many eggs of a particular color can be on a row or column.
I love a good like just a quick simple logic puzzle and Egghead was like perfect for that itch. And it's mainly a solo, isn't it? But you
Yeah,
can work
it's
together
yeah, you can
with
work together.
another
Yeah, there's no
person.
competitive mode. The Egghead is more
Hmm.
of a single player game, but yeah, that's
Hmm.
not to stop families from playing it together and working together. Maybe parents encouraging their little kids to think a particular way to get some. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's
A nice little competitive mode though would be who would solve it first,
Yeah,
you know.
you'd have to get two games, I guess, because there's only
True.
one game, like one puzzle per, yeah. So
Hmm.
you'd have to get two games and then do that.
Yeah, or you can just take two randoms and then whoever solves their own puzzle first,
The only
you
downside
know.
to that approach is that these are broken up into levels. You'd have to
Hmm.
find two that have different levels, or two that have the same level. There's
Yeah.
like 5 difficulties on these cards. So
Hmm.
yeah, but that's possible. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Growing up, I've always had like these little puzzle books, word searches, crosswords,
Hmm.
and logic puzzles, and this was right up my alley. So I love like a quick little logic puzzle game, and this is perfect for it.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
yeah.
Moving on to number 7. My number 7 was, I think we're on number 7, Trekking Through
Hmm.
History. This is a game I recently got a press copy for, and I absolutely love it.
Yep.
The art style is fantastic. It's very colorful. Essentially, you're sort of like moving through time, and you're picking up cards in a tableau and putting them in chronological order for a current run. Once you break that chronological order, you put that set off to the side, and then you start a new run, and these runs are scored. The more cards you have in a run, the more points they are worth at the end of the game. In addition to that, the cards that you take have time on them, so like a time cost, and you're moving your little pocket watch around the clock. If you can time it so that your marker lands on the 12, goes all the way around to the 12, then you get some extra points. In addition to that, when you're taking these time cards and going to different locations, you also get these different color tokens: red, purple, yellow, that kind of thing. And you're filling up your own personal tableau with these tokens. And if you fill up a particular column or row or whatnot, you're going to get some extra points. So there's a lot of different things to consider in this game, and it's just very well done. It plays very quickly, but there's still a lot of thinkiness to it.
Hmm.
The board itself is just a mat that you roll out, like in Her Story. Speaking of which, Her Story was a follow up to this game. I liked it, but not as much as this one.
Hmm.
Did you have any thoughts about trekking through history?
I love trekking through history, but it's another one of those games where I'm gonna sneeze. Hold on.
Yes, more interruptions. That's interruption number 5.
Oh, sorry, sorry. Okay, okay, I
Okay,
think
we're
it went
good.
away.
Uh huh.
All right. No, I like this game, but it's another one of those games where I get a little bit competitive, I guess you
You
could say.
competitive? Not at all.
Not competitive. again in the obnoxious way, but more in the oh no, you took that card. Like inside, it's like
Death. Yeah, just
I get
yeah.
very sweaty and very like, okay, now I have to try hard. Now I have to map things
She's
out.
not kidding when it comes to the sweating thing. When she hands her cards back to me at the game's
It's
end and they're
horrific.
bent because of the water damage from her hands, like it's ridiculous.
I get nervous sometimes. Who likes to lose? Nobody really likes to lose,
Says
but
you.
it's
You've beaten me the last like 10, with the exception of Wingspan and one other game that we played recently.
hmm,
You've beaten me like 8 games in a row.
nah.
So, and
I don't remember
and I'm
that.
seething on the inside, but
Yeah, see.
I recognize your prowess.
Hmm.
So,
Aw. Yeah, so like I don't know, I like this game a lot. I would play it over and over again, but I would also it's one of those games where you really have to bite your tonsils, in order to not flip the table over when you lose.
that's a talent that I don't have.
I
Biting
don't
your
know.
own tonsils. Maybe your tongue, but you'd have to get your teeth very far back anyway.
Well, when you bite your tongue, that indicates that you want to say something inappropriate. But not me. Like I wouldn't want to say something inappropriate just because I lose at a game. But I want to bite my tonsils so that,
I
my
see.
emotions inside can stay
Uh-huh.
inside,
All right.
Who likes to lose? Nobody likes to lose.
What a metaphor. All right, anyway. So that was Trekking Through History. Fantastic game. Go check that out. Your
Mhm.
number 7 was a game called
Museum suspects?
Museum
Is that
Suspects. It's a very
okay?
light, clue-esque kind of game where
I
you're puzzling out yeah.
I was gonna say Museum of Suspects, so I didn't know if there was an of in there.
No,
That's why
Museum
I was
Suspects.
hesitating. Okay. Yeah, I like this game. This game I don't mind losing, and this is the only bidding game that I can stomach. I don't like bidding games. A stockpile is okay, but Museum Suspects, I love this. I love this because it's like Guess Who for me, and I love Guess Who.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the only game that is close enough to Guess Who as I possibly can find.
And the solutions are always randomized. You never it's not the same solution twice. There may be no suspects. You might have more than one suspect. It all
Mhm.
depends on the clues that you get. And the clues are in the form of little cards that are on the left and right side of the grid. And these cards will tell you the suspect is not in the upper right quadrant, or the suspect is not an octopus, or the suspect it's again like you said, Guess Who, where you're
Mhm.
using features or locations to figure out who isn't it, so that you can eliminate who is it.
Yep.
And the winner is the person that has the most points. You're also bidding, like you said, on clues themselves, and you're
Mhm.
also bidding on like who it is that you think is the killer or
And you're
killers.
also and you're also bluffing. That's another thing I hate in games, but for some reason with this game, I can kind of stomach it.
Hmm.
The bluffing part of it.
It's a light enough game to where it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
If that makes any
exactly.
sense. Like if this were a 3 hour game, I'd be pissed if I was lied to for 3 hours. But this is a 15-minute, 20-minute experience.
Mhm.
So like you can get through several games of lying and be like, yeah, whatever. It's just a fun little bluff. You know what I mean? But if this was a
Mhm.
longer game, I'd be more upset. You know what I mean? That you were lying to me that entire time.
Oh
Like I
my
don't know. The
God.
longer the game, the more invested I get. This is a game I
Yeah.
don't have to get
Mhm.
invested in because it's so short.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I like it. It's just so much fun. It has that Clue-esque type of feel and the Guess Who type of feel, and it's just enjoyable.
Okay, makes sense. My number 6. Are we on number 6? We are.
Are we? Wow, that was
Yeah,
quick.
I'm trying. Tiny Epic Galaxies. This includes the Beyond the Black expansion. I
Mhm.
like this as both a solo and a versus experience. I kind of like the solo mode because I enjoy working together, and you can kind of mod the AI to be a bit more difficult depending on the difficulty card that you pick. But I
Mhm.
like for such a small box, the Tiny Epic games in general are very well done. I haven't played all of them, but Tiny Epic Galaxies A is sci-fi, so I love it. And B, the Beyond the Black expansion, it adds pilots and new ships, and it adds more to it. A new wormhole, a deep space exploration mechanic to where you're trying to get majority bonuses on certain icons. but primarily, I love the engine building in this, and it's all dice rolling and dice. You're trying to assign dice to do different actions, and I love that. It's empire building. It's just there's very little about this game I don't like. The Beyond the Black expansion kind of adds, I think, too much to it because like you can't if you try and focus on everything, you're not going to get anything done. Like in the game that we played, we barely took any pilots or any new ships. We were so focused on deep space and the primary core of the game that we ignored the pilots. And whether or not that was a good thing or bad thing, I don't know. But I'm just saying, like the original game and the Beyond the Black expansion is very well done. What do you have any opinions on this? Like
We did the versus, and we
eh,
did the
solo.
co-op, and we did and you did a
No,
solo,
no, no. There's no
right?
co-op. It's just solo. It's either solo or versus. We just
Oh,
happen to
okay,
do
okay,
the
okay.
co-op together, or we happen to do the solo as co-op.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, there's a solo mode and there's a versus.
I
We
see.
did the solo mode together, so technically it was co-op. You know what I mean?
Okay, I
But
see.
we
Yeah.
controlled one empire together
hmm
against the AI.
I really really liked this game. Another game that's very competitive though with me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because
I
you're fighting for those planets. You're trying to move your
mhm,
spaceship up the track, and
yeah.
it's possible to be on a planet, and then with a lucky die roll, your opponent can just move their rocket onto that planet, and then get to the end of the track, and boom, your rocket's all that time you
hmm
spent on that card. Nope, you don't get any
hmm
consolation prize. It sucks. Hmm.
I have to say I'm not sure if I liked it solo, but not as much as the verses, which is kind of weird to say because I like my solos and co-ops,
Hmm,
you
me too.
know.
Hmm.
But I really preferred the verses in this one just because um it's not as rushed as the solo.
Hmm.
So if that makes any
No,
sense.
it makes sense to me.
hmm
All right.
But
What was your number six?
my number six was holding on.
Holding on: The Troubled Life of Billy
There.
Kerr.
Yeah.
What a title. Very very not catchy. I
That's
mean,
why I just call it holding on.
holding on. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, holding on is not a game of Leonardo DiCaprio holding on to that plank at the end of the movie. And rather, this is the life of Billy Kerr. Billy Kerr is a patient in a hospital, and you're trying to keep him alive while reassembling his memories.
Mhm.
And there's a bit, the mechanics are more of like a worker placement kind of thing, where as cards come up, you're assigning nurses and doctors to these cards to prevent him from dying, but you're also trying to get memories out of him before the deck is gone. Once the deck is gone, that'll signal the end of the game. So like you have to like put his health at risk to get some of these memory cards, and you have to get them in the right order, the right row, column, whatever. So it's a challenge.
It is. I love that it feels like you're kind of working in a hospital as a director and you're managing your nurses going back and forth. And that's what I thought of it every time well, the one
Hmm.
time that we played it.
Yeah. Hmm.
But I don't know, I liked it. I thought the mechanics were very interesting because I never played a game like this before.
Yeah,
So
it has.
this
It's a legacy game, not legacy in the sense that you have to break stuff,
hmm
but there are multiple scenarios. We did scenario one, like in Lord of the Rings. It's replayable. The Journeys in Middle Earth. It's replayable. You can do scenario one over and over and over again, or you can move on to the second one, which is the follow up. So if you want the story to be told, you have to do the scenarios in order.
hmm
But we only did scenario one. I enjoyed it, but not enough to put it on my list. It was
hmm
cool, but I thought it was too difficult. I would definitely
mm
mod the game to make it slightly easier because we
mm.
barely won, like barely.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked the challenge of it. I liked
You're
how
always about that challenge.
I know, I can't help it. There has to be some sort of like, oh my gosh, like heart palpitation in there somewhere, but
See,
not the competitive kind.
I like a. I'm not super easy baby mode. Let me just get that right out of there. I am not the person that does sandbox unlimited money. I
hmm
like. I like. There's somewhere between easy and medium.
hmm
I like that middle ground. That's my preferred difficult between easy and medium, somewhere in between. That's
You
what
know
I
what?
like. I
What I
like a
think?
challenge, but not too much of one.
I think you don't like close calls. That's the one thing.
I
I
like,
think,
well, yeah, I'm one of those people that like I want to make sure I've got three extra rounds to wiggle if I
yeah,
need to.
you want to at least be ahead of the person or an AI by at least 20 points, you know?
I guess. Yeah. That's fair enough. That way, if I
I
make a mistake, I don't like games where you have to play perfectly every single round. I like games
mhm,
where I can mess around with the mechanics,
yeah.
push the limits, and see what I can get away with. But if there's a
Mhm,
meta and you have to follow that meta from round to
mhm.
round or you lose, to me, you're not playing a game at that point. You're not trying different things.
I agree.
There are
Mhm.
a lot of video games out there, like they favor a particular build, like on this roguelite run. If you don't build your character this way, you're not going to get far. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Make sure that everything is balanced to where I can try out different things and it won't matter. You know?
I
Anyway,
think that also kind of depends like what game you're playing too. You
yeah.
know, because if there's a game out there that you kind of have to, like Wingspan, for instance, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of cards there, but if you can sort of memorize like which birds do which, like what birds do what, you can really get far in that
You
game.
can. There are some people that have that game down to a science. I
hmm
try not to read those on Board Game Geek forums, but like some people are
hmm
like, oh, you got it. If you get this bird, if you get that out turn 1 or 2, you're good because you can
Yep.
keep generating this resource. And I'm like, I don't want to break the game that way. I
Yeah.
want to play, and I want to play a game with someone that also isn't meta. Because
hmm
if they're being meta, that forces me to be meta. Otherwise, I can't keep up.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
I'd rather play. I enjoy playing games with people that are new to it
hmm
because it's not because I want to beat them. It's because I don't want to play against someone that's going to try and has the system memorized to the point where it's no longer fun.
That's why I think that's one of the reasons why we don't like the legacy stuff. You know, because
I
once you
don't
play
like
that,
it. That's an OCD thing with me, though. I don't like
okay.
marking up components. You
Mm.
always joke, well, we can just add a little Star Wars character to this thing to make it Star Wars. You will not touch or rip or color
I
anything on my
I would
stuff. No, I'm very. Do not bend my components. Do not break them. Do not draw on them. I will not play a legacy game for that reason.
I would never intentionally, mess up components, but I wouldn't mind mixing and matching
Uh
at
huh.
least, keeping the components,
Uh
nice
huh.
and organized.
Uh huh. Uh huh. Wrong.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
That's really OCD.
Uh huh.
But yeah, anything more to say about holding on?
No. We'll move on.
Okay. Okay.
My number 5 was Arc Nova.
hmm
This is a game. I mentioned this before. This is a. I dislike games that take a lot of time to set up, to figure out. I make an exception in this case because it pushes all the right buttons for me. It does a lot of cool things, and I really like it. It's a complicated game. Ark Nova is like a dinosaur, like Jurassic Park, essentially, but with different animals and like where you're. It's like you're building your own zoo. You know what I mean? Like
hmm
you're building your own zoo. You're putting habitat hexes on a board, but you're also chaining. You're also chaining cards together. Your actions that you can take are kind of like in that Dawn of Civilization game that we played, where you've got 5 cards, and as cards move down the track, they become more powerful. And when you take that action, it goes back to the end of the track, making it the weakest action again. I
Yeah.
love that mechanic. It's really cool. Even though this took us 2.5 hours, 3 hours to play, and my setup part of it was like half an hour, and reading the rules, like it was worth it. I felt, even though you won, I felt very satisfied with this game, and I really enjoyed it,
hmm
and I want to keep playing it. What's stopping me from bringing it back out again is time.
Yeah, time in the setup, I
Yes.
think.
How did you feel about Arc Nova?
Oh, I loved Ark Nova. I was a little nervous to play this. I was very intimidated, because of how overwhelming it looked and with all the stuff that you kind of have to understand and um, get through, I
Hmm.
guess. But man, I ended up loving this game so much. I love all the cards that you can get. I love the chains that you can do.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes it was insane, like the chaining that you can do in the game.
I think
And
scoring is overly complicated though, because you have to, at the end of the game, like on the top of the scoring track, you're moving markers from left to right, like downward, and then you've got markers on the bottom of the scoring track moving up. And then you have to
Mhm.
subtract the 2 at the end of the game, and your final score is like 5. I'm like, what the heck is that? Why would you complicate scoring? That
Yeah,
turned me off. The final
yeah.
scoring turned me off with that game. I'm sure
hmm
people have it figured out. My first impression of it was why. Why is it
Yeah.
so complicated? Why does it need to be that complicated? In my
I
opinion.
understand. It's a little iffy on that part, but I don't know. I liked the theme of the whole animal thing. There was another game where you had to like breed or something,
Yes.
and
Was it New York
anytime you
Zoo?
yeah, I think that was it. And it was
You moved an
it
elephant around the track and you put animals on and you bred. Yeah. New York
yeah,
Zoo did that.
for some reason I could not grasp that much simpler game. And with Arc Nova, which is much more complicated, I grasped like faster, I guess.
Yeah. You
So
took to this game a lot better than New you like this game better than New York Zoo, and New York Zoo is
much
five times
simpler.
less simpler.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And that's insane to me because my brain isn't wired that way. I'm more along the simple
Mm-hmm.
minded folk. But like it's just I don't know. This game, like you said, hit all the right buttons. So it's quite a nice change of pace.
I recommend it.
So
Just be warned, there's a learning curve.
yes.
That's what I'll say about it.
Yes.
But if you take the time to learn it, it's a beautiful game. There's a lot to it. It's very meaty. So
Hmm.
expect to spend a couple of hours just getting used to it.
Yeah, and once you know it, like once you actually learn how to play, it's easy from here there on out, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So
All
yeah.
right. Your number five was what?
My number five is Fog of Love.
Fog of Love. Oh, such a cute little game.
Oh, I love this game.
So it's essentially a couples game where you control a made up character. You and your partner control a made up character. In this case,
Hmm.
I was controlling the male, she was controlling the female, and we started with particular traits, and we each had hidden goals that we were trying to complete. And the whole idea is these goals require you to add tokens to these six personality tracks, if you will. You can either have them on like it defines your personality, whether you're outgoing or introverted. And by
Hmm.
putting a bunch of tokens on the outgoing track, you might be satisfying your own secret objective. But there's also some group objectives that you may have to try and hopefully together solve. But by you focusing on yours, you might end up ruining the group one, if that makes any sense.
Hmm.
It's just a lot of reading, a lot of scenario playing out, like role playing. Oh, you guys are in a park and this and this and this happens. Do you? And then it'll tell you the reader picks one, or you both pick one secretly and reveal your answers, or different things. And depending on your responses, you will get different positive or negative results. It tells a story. And I know that about you. You love a game that tells a story.
Oh, I love it. It's just this game was so much fun. I loved role playing,
Yeah.
like as a different character, and I love that the character builds as you're playing. So you kind of have to change up your story, you know, of what you had in mind in the beginning. You kind of have to, you know, make it up as you go,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. And I love the decision making. It reminds me of those choose your own story books.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Choose
It
your own
was just so much
adventures.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
choose your own adventures.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun trying to link your story to the other person,
It
you
was
know.
difficult for me. I'm not a big role player. So
Hmm.
like I was given a character and I was given three personality traits and I was trying
Hmm.
to like get it was difficult for me. I'm very rigid. Every time I play an RPG or a video game, I'm always the same character. I'm this introverted, logical character. And for this game, I'm trying to be something that I'm not. It's pushing me outside my comfort zone a little bit.
Man, I
It
love
was
it.
fun. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it's for people that don't do a lot of D&D or think that way. Like if you can't
Hmm.
get into that imaginative mindset or cosplay, being someone that you're not,
Hmm.
if you don't see yourself doing that, it's a little harder to tell that story. Luckily, you don't have to role play to play this game. You can play it strictly for the getting the tokens where they need to be. But you
Hmm.
would be missing out on 75% of the game if you did that, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
This game is so good for schizophrenics. Like I
Oh,
think it's
wow.
I
With
think
multiple personality disorders. Yeah.
it's it's just you could play this over and over again, and it'd be a different time, like a different person every
There
time.
you go. So you can act out like evil alternate universe you without getting in trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I had some. I gotta rewatch this video, or we could just, play it again.
Yeah, I'm sure there are multiple scenarios. We played
There you
the
go.
starter scenario like we always do.
Mhm.
But yeah, there are multiple scenarios in the box. We did the
Isn't
first date.
there
We did the first date one.
isn't there an expansion for this?
I'm pretty sure there are expansions, but in the box there's 5 or 6 other scenarios. So we didn't even
Hmm.
get through the majority of the content yet.
Yeah.
So
Oh man, I can't wait to play more of this with you soon, maybe.
moving on to moving on to number 4. My number
Okay.
4 was Power Rangers: Heroes of the Grid.
Hmm.
I don't know what it is lately with Power Rangers. I don't know why. I just, for whatever reason, like, this is something that I watched when I was younger. Not the
Hmm.
Zeo, not the Dino, not Space, or whatever came after. I'm talking the original Power Rangers: Jason, Billy, Trini, Kimberly, and Zach, and then eventually Tommy. Those were my Power Rangers. And then it wouldn't be Power Rangers without make
Rita.
my monster grow! And then she throws this wand at the ground, and Earth has been destroyed. Every episode, there are cliffs, falling. Like, Angel Grove is the most unlucky town there is because all these monsters are always attacking it. Every time the Power Rangers call a Zord, the terrain is being destroyed. Like, I'm
Mhm.
surprised no one notices the Richter scale 9 point. Like, what? Anyway, Power Rangers: Heroes of the Grid.
You went off the deep
I
end.
did. I had a lot to say. So, sorry. Anyway, so this is a cooperative game where we pick a couple of rangers in a two-player game. We each get 2 rangers, and we take actions to fight things. There's only 4 locations around the city, but if all of those 4 parts of the city get overrun, we lose. So we have to keep the enemies off the grid, as it were, and then bosses will come up every now and again. And it's really cool because there's some dice rolling in this game. Each of the rangers has a deck of cards, so it's not a deck builder per se, but your deck that you initially get counts as your life. So you have to manage the cards that you play and the damage that you take. And when you take damage, you lose cards. You can get cards back, like you can refresh your damage via your cards by going back to your command center and resting. You also have to manage power. Different cards you play have a power cost, so you're trying to make sure that you're not using too much because your friend may need it as well. So it's a cool game. For a Power Rangers game, I know it sounds kiddish, but I would play this again. Like, I really liked it. It was a really solid cooperative game, and it brought back a lot of memories. It's a game that is very faithful to the TV series that I used to know and love as a kid.
Hmm.
What did you think of Power Rangers: Heroes of the
This
Grid?
this was on my list, but of course crossover, so I had
Crossover,
to
yeah.
skip off.
I'm a terrible person. I made
No,
her move everything.
I was gonna put the deck builder on here, but I don't think it was as fun as the Heroes of the Grid.
Deck Builder was
But
too complex for me.
it was a little complex, but I'm still excited to play it with the Tommy expansion that we got too.
Yeah, we got a Tommy expansion for this, courtesy of Renegade Games.
Yeah.
And we did an unboxing, but we have yet to actually play it.
Hmm.
So we're going to be revisiting this at some point. Based on what I saw, you could, with the Tommy expansion, you could play as the Green Ranger or the White Ranger, and then his future Rangers, which I think there's another white one and a red one. I
Hmm.
don't know.
So,
Um,
admittedly, I kind of not coerced you into getting this, but it definitely kind of piqued your interest by forcing you to watch the original Power Rangers on YouTube with
oh my
me.
god. For like a week straight, it's all she made me watch on YouTube on TV.
We're
And
still not finished with it, for the record.
we took a break. We
Yes,
have
just a
to
little
see what
bit.
happens to the Green Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
Cough, cough. White Ranger, cough, cough. Candle, cough, cough. Anyway,
But yeah,
yes.
I really enjoyed this game. It reminded me a lot of that. What's it called? The Castle Panic, a little bit.
Yeah, Castle Panic. It reminds you of the Panic games in that things
Mm-hmm.
can escalate out of control quickly if you don't stay on top of them. It's
Mm-hmm.
one of the, like Pandemic. If you don't keep the viruses and the bacteria and the diseases under control, then the board is going to get overrun. And you're doing this. You're going to different locations here and killing putty and stopping bosses and the like. Yeah.
Yep. So
Okay. What was your number 4?
my number four was Mysterium Park.
Mysterium Park.
Yes.
So Mysterium Park is a follow-up to Mysterium. I liked this game because it was a bit more streamlined than Mysterium. What prompted you to use, like, brought you to this game rather than Mysterium? Do you like this one better?
I like this one better. I don't know why. I think the little bubbles like are so attractive.
You mean that's the guess
Colors.
markers? Yeah.
Yeah, the guess marker.
Yes.
Only
So
reason why I picked it.
that's fine. The way this works, one player is the ghost and has a 3x3 answer key,
Mhm.
and they know which of the cards on the table need to be guessed by the different players.
Mhm.
So, like, there's a card for purple and a card for white and a card for the different player colors, and the ghost is trying to get each of the different players of those colors to guess that particular card. And to do that, they're playing their own cards that are abstract, like the one card on the camera there's an Einstein looking one with red. It's a red cloud, but it looks like Einstein. You might play that one to signify the color red or the fact that there's a lot of hair. The lightning bolts on the other cards might indicate lightning or electricity, so maybe I'm trying to tell her it's a picture with light in it, or a light bulb, or you're trying to convey this silently via cards, like in Mysterium. But I
Mhm.
think this game, like you said, it streamlined it a bit more, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
for sure.
I liked it. I liked playing. Did you like playing as the ghost or the guesser, or both?
Oh, I don't know. I liked both,
Did you
honestly. Mm, I think I liked playing as the guesser. Like I actually like trying
to get into
to,
people's heads?
well, trying to figure out like what people are conveying. I really like that. Is that the ghost
The
actually?
ghost is the one that provides the cards, and the
Okay.
guesser has to look at those cards and go, "I think you're trying to tell me to put a marker on this card."
Yeah. I don't know. I like both, but I think I liked the guesser too.
Okay.
Like just a little more. This game, like it goes hand in hand with all the other games like Dixit and
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't played Dixit as much as Mysterium and Mysterium Park.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I could, but we don't have it, do
We don't
we?
have Dixit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very much like Similo as well. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I love stuff
Similo
like
is kind
this.
of similar. Similo has that you're conveying information silently kind of
It's
thing.
more about characters though instead of places and abstract images,
Yeah,
I
these
think.
cards, these cards that we're drawing, like there's multiple things on them. Like there's
Hmm.
people and there's locations. So like the clues the ghost may be trying to convey, the guesser may misinterpret those clues to mean something completely different. Like I
Hmm.
might be trying to tell you dressing room, but you might see a table in one of my clues as, oh, that might mean the table in this unrelated card over here. I'm like, oh no, I want you to pick that card. You know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's just one of those. It's cool. I like it. But yeah, so Mysterium Park. I liked it. You liked it.
Hmm. Well,
Um,
what did you prefer, the guesser or the ghost?
I don't know. I like the ghost. I,
The
I like
ghost.
I like trying to guess how people think, because you really
Hmm.
have to get in their heads. Are they an abstract person or direct? With you, it's like you're 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. So like I can sometimes give you a clue and you're like all over it, but then you overthink it. Whereas if I
Hmm.
give a clue to another person, like a friend who I know is more straight shot, okay, if I give this him, he'll know what this means, or
Hmm.
whatnot. Someone that focuses on color rather than abstract table or whatever. I don't know.
Hmm.
I like the ghost.
Yep.
Um, number 3. My number 3 was
Wow.
Anno 1800. This is
Ah,
another
okay.
complicated game, but see, I love the video game. And it's one of those video games that I play. I start to play. I play it for several hours for like a month, and then I don't finish it, and then I restart it because I forgot where I was. That's where I'm at with the video game. The board game you can finish in like an hour or two, more like 2 hours, and it has the same. It's one big supply chain game where you start off with these basic resources. There's worker placement where you're assigning workers to a resource and you're trying to generate that resource so that then you can feed it into this other thing and then you can get these resources, and eventually you're just trying to satisfy the wants and needs of the various people cards.
Hmm.
But you can also upgrade your land by adding more land to your main board so that you can put more buildings down. I like that. But here's the thing: you can't put. There's so many different resources in this game. It's impossible to take every one of them. So you have to trade with your opponent and give them resources in exchange for using their resource to complete what you need. So I don't know. I really like this game. I like resource chain games where A leads to B leads to C kind of thing. I
Hmm.
like puzzling that out. Just much like the video game. Did you care for this one?
I did. I really enjoyed it, but I don't think I would play it again, but I would rather play other games again just because there's a digital version of this. I've never
Yes.
actually played Anno 1800.
It's all
I
on the
thought it
Ubi store, I think.
Yeah, I thought it was like just another RTS. Like I really thought it was similar to
Mm-hmm.
StarCraft or like a combat type of thing,
No,
but it's all
10,
about managing resources.
10, 20% of the game is building a city, a small city on an island.
Hmm.
The other 80, 90% is getting the resources on your current island and then eventually going to other islands that offer other resources and then setting up shipping lanes so that you can bring those resources back to your home city so that these houses can grow and you can
So like
bring in high
Tropico.
kind of Tropico 6.
Okay.
More like
But
Tropico
without
6.
combat, is there actual combat
There's
in
no
this?
in the video game, yes, there is combat. There's
Oh,
pirates.
okay.
But in this game, I don't think there were pirates, but don't quote me on it. I don't remember pirates.
I remember having fun with it, and this actually made me want to play the video game because I love stuff like that. There was actually a video that I saw last night. It was a demo, and it was like a flowchart game. I think it was called Master
Master
Tycoon or
Plan
something like.
Tycoon. I
Yeah,
covered the demo. Hmm.
yeah. So I saw that, and I'm like, okay. And this reminded me a little bit of that, where you have to kind of like put one resource to another, building and A to B and B to C and B to
Hmm.
D and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I liked the board game, but it's too competitive for me.
Too
Too
competitive.
sweaty.
Fair enough. What was your number three?
Decorum.
Decorum. Another fast game where you can play it in like 10, 20 minutes. And what you're trying to do, you explain it.
It's a logic puzzle,
It
basically,
is.
like Egghead almost. But you're working with another person to try and come up with the perfect solution of building a house and putting all the colors and the furniture together.
In
And
the right
that's
locations.
what I got. Yeah.
Yeah, so there are 4 rooms in the house. You can paint them a different color, like the wallpaper can be yellow, red, green, or blue. You
Hmm.
can also put various pieces of furniture in these rooms, and they can be different colors. So you can put a blue painting, or a green painting, or a red lamp, or a green lamp. And each of you has your own solution card. And you can't be specific about what you need, but you can add a piece of furniture or a wallpaper color to a room, and then your opponent can go, I don't like that at all. Or I really like that. I like that design. I think you should keep that, something vague to let you know that, you're on the right track, or no, I can't have this here. And your answer key might be, I need 3 green items in the house, and 2 of the rooms have to have a blue color, different things like that. And your opponent has, or your friend that you're working with, it's co-op, has a slightly different answer key. So it's possible for both to come together and fit. It's just a matter of figuring out how to puzzle it to where you get the house in a state where both of your answer keys are appropriate and match.
Yep.
So I like this game. It's fast, and there are multiple difficulty levels to it too.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah. This is
the garbage truck.
again.
I hear a
Oh,
garbage truck. That's fine. It's every time we get interrupted, folks. Take a drink of milk, not alcohol, because this is family friendly. If you're
yes,
lactose
milk.
intolerant, go with
Water.
water. Okay, so go ahead. What did you like about Decorum? Why is it on this list?
I don't know. I love this game so much. I could play this over and over. I kind of wanted to. I wanted to play all the scenarios at one go. But I don't know. I like the whole trying to work together with your partner and, trying to say, okay, let's build this house. What do you like? What do you not like about it? Do you not like these walls like this color? I don't know, things like that.
And the
It,
game is
it,
fairly
it's
generous in terms of difficulty too. Like
yeah.
you have so many rounds to do this in. You can
Hmm.
extend it, you can shorten it, you can give each other hints every like 5, 10, 15 rounds, that kind of thing. It's cool.
Yeah.
I liked
It's
it.
a very simple and fun, fast-paced. Not even fast. I wouldn't call it fast-paced, just like a fast game.
It is
Just a
fast.
quick game.
You can play this game in 10, 20 minutes if you're
Yeah.
fast
And
enough.
that's why it's on my list. It's so casual, it's so quick, and it's really still enjoyable to me. So,
All right, fair enough. My
mhm.
number 2 was Star Wars Outer Rim. This is a game that we first played this year. We played it on Tabletop Simulator, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, but we half played it. I bought the board game and we actually played it, and I really like it. It's engine buildy in that you start as a smuggler with a basic ship. It's set in the Star Wars universe, but it's centered more around like the scoundrels and the smugglers rather than Rebel Alliance or Imperial. There are rebels and Imperials in the game, but primarily your goal is go from location to location on the grid or on the board and complete contracts. Whether they be to find a particular person that's hidden throughout the galaxy and then either eliminate them or bring them to another planet for a higher reward. Another bounty might be to complete a series of tasks via dice rolls. Throughout this, you can buy new cards to add to your ship. So you can get new crew members, you can buy a whole new ship like the Millennium Falcon, or the Slave One, or any of the other recognizable Star Wars ships in the universe. Not the X-Wings, but more of the cargo stuffs. You
Mhm.
can upgrade your ship, but your ultimate goal is manage your factions like the Hutts and the Syndicate, the Rebels and the Imperials. Make sure they don't hate you. Hire more crew, make yourself more powerful, get new traits like this intelligence trait will help your dice rolls, or
Mhm.
this trait will help you automatically succeed in this challenge. It's an engine building game, but you're also trying to. Also a pick up and deliver game where you're trying to move cargo from here to here, or find someone and deliver them to justice. It's really cool. For a Star Wars game about smugglers, that turned me off because I'm a big Rebels versus Empire, X-wing versus Tie Fighter. Those are the only two factions I like. But for a smuggler game themed around smuggling, I really enjoyed it. And I
There you
would
go.
play this again. And there's also a solo mode against the AI. How did you like this one? Did you care for it?
Yes, absolutely. I loved this game. Um, it's very sweaty, but not in a competitive sense. It's actually, to me, it's very
You're playing against yourself. You're bored, trying to get more powerful.
yeah, like you're kind of too focused on what you're doing rather than what the other player's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I guess you can sort of like strategize if you know like what your other opponent is like going for, like which bounties he's going for,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, you're trying to get your own stuff done. So, it's just so focused on what you're trying to do and not trying to get caught by those stupid
The
um
patrols.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I don't know, I really like it. It's not as competitive as I thought it would be,
Mm-hmm.
and
I like that
I
there's
love it.
multiple ways to win too. Like the victory points that you can earn, again
Hmm.
with the whole contracts thing, but you can also just blow up ships. You can make the syndicates and the Rebel Alliance, the Empire hate you by blowing up their patrols, and they get more powerful as you continue doing that.
Hmm.
However, every time you destroy one, you get victory points or
Hmm.
money or whatever. So like if you just want to become, rather than you having to worry about doing, rather than you having to find a particular person or deliver cargo, you can outfit your ship with just combat related stuff. and
Yep.
just go after these patrols with a vengeance and just blow them up and get tons of victory points that way. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
That garbage truck needs to oil their freaking brakes.
Yeah. But
Anyway,
I remember, didn't you play this with Vinny as
I
well?
did. Yeah, we play.
Yep.
Vinny and I played it. Then you and I played it.
Mm-hmm.
I still
Yep.
want to play the AI. That would be fun.
That would be fun, actually. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
What was your number two?
My number two was I really didn't want to put it on because I've talked so much about this game.
It's all right. This is a game of the year kind of thing. We're meant to do this.
Yeah.
In between the squeaking, what did you think of
This is Flatline. Right
Flatline?
here.
Flatline. Now,
Yes.
Flatline. Okay, it's your game. You tell me what you liked about it, or what do you do in this game?
You roll dice
Yes.
and you try to match dice with patience, I guess. And God, I'm the worst at explaining games, especially when I'm put on the spot. But
Come on, do it fast. 10 seconds.
okay. So you match dice in a very time limited time. Like
Yes, a time limited time. Yes, yes.
this is enough bloopers.
Okay, so
So
Flatline is a cooperative game. I'll start with that. It's a cooperative game where, as she said, you are trying to treat patients, right? And each round is timed. Each player rolls dice, and you're trying to assign dice to these patients. But in addition to that, there are events that will pop up, like emergencies that pop up. So rather than assign dice to patients, you have to also choose to assign dice to these cards, these emergency cards. If you don't deal with these emergency cards, they go into your like fail pile. And if you get so many cards in your fail pile, you lose the game. There are also events on the top of the board that may or may not kick in depending on a die roll every round, and you have to assign dice to them to get rid of them. So like you're assigning dice to three different sections of the board, but you're also timed on a round standpoint. If you don't treat all of the patients within so many rounds, you lose. So if you focus too heavily on the emergencies and the top of the board, you're not going to get enough dice to the patients to treat them. So it's a really nail-biting thing. In addition, in the standard game, you only have like a minute or 45 seconds or something like that to assign dice. So you're constantly yelling at your friend, no, sign dice over here, I got this over here. It's very hectic, and we failed miserably our first game. We played the second time, and I gave ourselves more dice and more time per round to assign dice, and I loved it so much better with that easier variant that I came up with. So,
to me, that variant was a bit too easy. Having more dice and more time was a bit too easy for me. I would have preferred like one or the other. You know, either more dice and with less time, or the standard time, or more time with less the standard dice.
Unfortunately, that's the difficulty with homemade variants and homebrewed rules. You don't know what works or what you like until you try it. So, like with that game, we were testing the water. Now that I know that you don't like both, we'll have to just try one or the other and see if I like it. See, it's also a challenge trying with a homebrewed rule set. It's also a challenge trying to find rule sets that we both agree on.
Yeah.
That we both are comfortable with. Because you like the challenge, I like the casual. I was fine with it the way it was. But if
you don't think it was too easy, like every time you go into this game, you know you're gonna just blow it out of the water.
we didn't blow it out of the well.
We kind of did.
Okay,
We didn't
all right.
have any
I'll give you that.
emergencies.
I'll give you that. I would take one or two less dice in favor of keeping the time, only for dexterity reasons. Because physically, I have problems being that fast or thinking that fast. So I would rather have more time and less dice.
Okay.
That would be my compromise.
That's reasonable.
So
In this, I just thought of something. I probably should have, because this is kind of an older game, I should have replaced it with that other timed game that we had, where
Meteor?
you take a, huh?
Meteor?
No, not Meteor. There was like a plane that you had to go around the board, and it was timed as well. You kinda yelled
Pandemic
at me in the
first
beginning.
response.
No, was it?
First responders. There was a plane. Yeah, you were moving
Okay.
your people throughout the plane to generate cubes of a particular color, like
Yes.
red or green and blue. It's called Pandemic First Response
Yeah, okay, that was a good one too.
or Responders. It's either First Responders or First Response, one of the two.
First responder.
Responder.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
That's one we
really like
played more
that.
recently. Yeah.
Yes, because and I should have put that one on because it was more recent, but it was very similar to this in the sense that it was timed
Hmm.
and you had to like really not was it you don't match dice, but you kind of apply the dice
You apply dice to
into
the room that you're in.
yeah.
You can use plane symbols to move the plane. If you're in a room with the green, if you're in the green room, you can use your green face dice to generate resources. You assign the dice to that room, and then you can choose to generate the resources in that room based on where the dice are at, or you can continue adding dice to that track to make it more powerful and generate even more cubes. So, but every dice that you use to generate resources is waste. So you have
Hmm.
to roll dice for waste, and if your waste fills up, then you lose. So someone has to go to the waste room and to get rid of waste. Yeah, it's hectic.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I should have replaced that. But yeah, what I meant to say, you yelled at me in the beginning just because I didn't grasp it and I played it totally wrong. So,
which
yeah.
game?
That
The,
pandemic
oh, did I?
response.
Yes,
Yeah.
I yell at her constantly, folks. It's a problem. I'm working on it.
No, no. No, he doesn't. He's being facetious. No, it's
So, but
fine.
Flatline, why? So, what about Flatline? Like, you like the setting or just the fast pacedness of it?
I do love the setting. I just love the different symbols, of the dice, and I love that there's so many of them, and you really have to try and manage what you're going after. You have to kind of plan beforehand because you're not going to get everything all at once,
Mm-hmm.
unless you homebrew it, of course. But
Is
you
that
know,
a dig at me or
no,
something?
no, not at all,
Hmm.
not at all.
Hmm.
So you're not going to get everything all at once. So you really have to pick and choose. And the pick and choose, like picking and choosing is actually really hard because of the little buffs and negatives that you get from
Mm-hmm.
that wheel.
Yeah.
So the wheel that points. So if you complete a patient, um, depending on where the arrow is, you could get a negative buff or a positive buff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
So you have to time completely healing a patient.
yeah, so it's like not only do you have to be quick, um, be fast in matching dice, you also have to really think about whether or not you should,
Yeah.
heal that patient.
I know your face is broken, but this arrow is pointing here right now, and you have to wait.
Yes. Sorry, we can't heal you right
We
now.
can't heal you right now. I'm gonna lose a card, or I'm gonna lose a die on my next turn. So your face is gonna have to stay broken for another turn. Yeah,
I don't,
totally, just like real life.
this is one of my favorite games, and uh, I wish that I could find people to play this with like a lot
Wow.
more.
Okay.
I
Thanks.
meant like a lot more. I know you don't
Uh,
have the time, so.
I see. I see. Hmm.
And I
Because
know this isn't your cup of tea either.
I like it on an easier setting. I'll play this
Yeah.
again on an easier setting, no doubt.
Okay.
What was my number one? What do you think it was? Oh, wait,
Um,
you have my answer. Never mind.
Terraformers, right?
No, that's no,
Terraforming Mars.
no, not. It was gonna be
No,
terraforming Mars.
Terraformers. No.
Terraformers, no.
Tiny
Terraforming
Epic
Mars.
Dungeons. Duh.
Tiny Epic Dungeons, yes.
Yeah.
Tiny Epic Dungeons is a game where you're going to be cooperatively going through a dungeon. You each get a character. It's like a barbarian or a rogue or whatever.
Mhm.
It's this game. Oh my gosh, there's so much. It's another Tiny Epic game where there's so much in a tiny box.
And it's a
Um,
co-op.
it is. That's what I said. Co-op.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Sorry.
It's a cooperative game. It's like
I have
you've
to repeat
never
it.
played this game before. We played it twice. Once
Yep.
with the core game and once with the potions and stories expansion, whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, you're going to be going around a dungeon. You reveal the map as you go by laying down more tiles. Ultimately, you're trying to find the boss room and kill the boss. But there's a timer too. If you don't do it fast enough, then bad things happen.
Yep.
So we homebrewed it a bit to make it a bit more lax our second time out. I love that you can get various pieces of equipment, and if you get multiple pieces of the same type, like of the viper or of the this or of the that, of the fang, of the lion, whatever, you generate more bonuses to your gears. They're like gear bonuses, like you would see in a typical action RPG, like Diablo or Torchlight, whatever. So
Hmm.
I love that little homage to that. What do you think about Tiny Epic Dungeons? Did you enjoy it?
Uh, this This would have been my number one, two, or three if you didn't have it on your list.
There's a lot of those.
hmm But I love this game. I don't know. It's just the fact that it's a co-op because I'm a big co-op person, and I just love exploring. Like I loved exploring and trying to battle monsters and like little things like that. Like the whole exploring rooms, like Betrayal at House of Haunted Hill had it, and a few other games. And I like that little surprise.
Oh,
So
this room's a trap. You have to now roll dice to not get hurt. And then
yeah.
you can spend your, it's like agility or focus or something to make your dice rolls better, but you have to regenerate your, this focus. Otherwise, you won't have it for when you need it.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah.
your homebrew version was actually really good because it didn't feel like it. It actually felt like the standard game. So
One of the few times where I can get a homebrewed rule set right the first time.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I love this game. I could play this one over and over too. So
It's and also like we played the one floor, but there's a rulebook variant where you can play multiple floors. Where once you find the stairs, you go down to the next one, and then the next one. It's
yeah.
yeah. So
And I actually preferred it with the expansion just because
the
it was
potions.
more meaty. It was more meaty that
There's a
way.
story. There was a story. The stories. There's potions that you could drink for various things, but there's also like a quest or two that you can get where you have to escort this person back to the entrance or something like that, and you got a bonus for doing that. So yeah, there's extra little stuff in addition to the core set. Really
Yep.
fantastic game. Tiny epic dungeons. Really enjoyed it. What was your number one?
My number one was Awkward Guests.
Yes, this was on my list, but I removed it because I knew for a fact that you were going to have it. You've
Yes.
been bothering me, not bothering. You've been hounding me to
Bothering, yes.
play this
Sorry.
regularly. Like I've adapted. I created a PowerPoint presentation with a PDF. I green check marks, red X's. This is a Clue-like game where you're going to be trying to puzzle out, like in Clue, who killed Mr. Brody. In this case, it's Mr. Winston or Watson or whatever his name is.
Watson. Something like that.
Winston, I thought. Was
Is
it?
it?
Yeah, I thought it's
I
W.
played this
Walton.
game
It's Walton.
Walton. I play this game enough. I should know.
Yeah. So there are
Jeez.
6 suspects, and you're trying to figure out the who. There are like what is it? 4, 8, 12, 20 weapons. You're trying to figure out with what weapon, and you're trying to figure out the path they took from their starting room to to the study where Mr. Walton was killed. And you can play without the app. However, if you guess wrong, you're eliminated because you would know the answer at that point. But if you play with the app and you guess wrong, you can keep playing, which I love. And there's also a solo mode where you only have so many points. And what you do is in the multiplayer game, you're asking each other for cards and you give each other clues. Whereas in the solo version, you're asking the app for clues and it'll give you a choice. Do you want 3 cards worth 3 points or 2 cards worth 4 points? And you're trying to puzzle out, okay, I've already seen 1 point cards for this person before. You ask every turn for 2 things, whether it be a person or a location or a combination of both. You're asking for 2 things, and you have to keep track of what you've seen already because you can get repeat information. So you're trying to puzzle out what you've seen, what you haven't seen, what you think you might see, what cards to ask for. It's fun. Go watch our Awkward Guests videos. The tabletop version that you're seeing here, you can totally watch that too. But I think the PowerPoint version that I have is easier to see and easier to track. But you do
And you
you.
can play along too. Like watchers can actually,
Yeah.
or viewers, I should say
You can
watchers.
download the PDF from the official website and play
hmm
along if you so chose.
hmm Um,
Why is this on your list? I don't have to ask, but why is it on your list?
I'm obsessed with this game. I love solo slash co-op mode. Because it's fun. It's the Clue game, but with more meat, with more investigation, with more like trying to decipher things because of all those cards. I think there's a total of 243 cards.
But
And
only some of them, depending. The scenarios are randomly generated, not randomly, but there's so many of them you don't have to worry about repeats really. 243 cards, like she says, but only like 70 of them are chosen for that scenario. It's
for
the
the case,
70 that are
yeah.
part of that scenario work together in such a way to where it's one unique solution.
Yes. And I love the little details too, like service staff can't lie, or Berwick sisters count as two people if they're in a room, but they move as one, or like
Hmm.
other little details like that. You know, the accomplice, um,
If there
the
is an
accomplice,
accomplice. Hmm.
if there is an accomplice, they won't. You know, it could be that they don't actually commit the murder, but you still have to find out who the accomplice was, and
Hmm.
it's really difficult sometimes because you're not going to get all the information. There's no way to possibly get every single
Hmm.
card in that case. So you really have to use your deciphering skills. You have to use your investigation skills,
Hmm.
and you kind of have to not memorize the cards, but you have to understand the cards' point values and what they give
Right. Like
in
all
order
the
to read.
ones will typically give you this. All of the twos will typically give you this, and so
Hmm.
on. There's a 1, 2, and a 3-point card. Hmm.
Yeah, and as you're actually getting cards and getting clues, you can sort of lay them out in front of you and be like, okay, so if these point valued cards gave me this type of information, then maybe I should request, um, this person and, keeping in mind, I want this point value, if
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
Ask for point valued cards that match what I need. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
Hmm.
exactly.
The only two complaints I had with this game was more technical with the app. And I actually spoke to the
Hmm.
developer on Board Game Geek, and they're still supporting the app, so I'm hoping they make these changes. One thing is, at the end of your playthrough with the app, it does not reveal everything. So,
Hmm.
like, where was the Berwick sisters? I don't know. Where was Claudette? I have no idea. I would love to know where she was because I suspected she was here, but I'd love to confirm it, kind of thing. It
Hmm.
doesn't give you the answer key at the end of it. It just simply says if you made it or not. And, the other complaint I had was the difficulties for the solo game, they're not customizable. So even with the easy standard, very easy game, like Idly just said, you are not going to be able to get all the information. You completionists out there will not be able to get every single piece of information, every single card revealed to know what everything is or where everything was, that kind of thing. I would
Hmm.
love to be able to customize the starting point value and whether or not there was an accomplice. Like, there's an accomplice on medium difficulty and above. Whereas on very easy and easy, there's no accomplice at all ever. So
Hmm.
like, but I would love to be able to customize it. I want 150 points, but with an accomplice, or 125 points, but possibility of an accomplice, or something. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah.
I'd love more customization options, difficulty wise, for the app. But other than
Hmm.
that, this game is fantastic.
I feel like you kind of could do that if you had a person with you, with that mindset. Like if you
If
wanted to play a solo slash co-op, you can actually have the other person, not really play along with you, but be the AI. You know, look through the cards,
yeah,
choose some cards, and then it's a little complicated though.
no, I get no that you'd have to accept that person in question would have to accept the fact that they're not playing a game at that point. They're just helping you
Hmm.
play a game.
Yeah, exactly. So
They're just
you could sort
assisting
of,
you. They can be the app. Only
yeah,
because it's in person, you can homebrew it any way you want to.
yeah. But I love this game. I was gonna say something. Oh yeah, that the 2 and 3 and 4 player variant, I'm not too impressed with, but I still want to keep playing it just to see if it does get a little bit better. But this is definitely a solo slash co-op type of
I
game
had more
for
fun the
sure.
solo slash when we say co-op, we mean solo. It's just
Hmm.
we had I streamed this like multiple times, and it was me controlling everything, but people in chat and yourself were
Hmm.
helping me and asking questions and contributing what they want to know about next. That
Yeah.
was a co-op thing, even though it was technically solo. We co-opted it, and that was a lot more fun than the competitive version, I thought.
Yeah, the competitive version, you can actually kind of
Be a
stick it to
jerk.
them a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can
and
keep cards. Like, you can keep cards in your hand that you know would help them.
mhm,
I mean, in a two-player game, there's no real way around that, really. Whereas
yeah.
in a 3 or 4 player game, you can always just ask someone else that's a bit more willing to help you rather than the person that's not giving you. Like, if you keep getting repeat cards from player B, then never
Hmm.
ask player B for cards again and just ask player C. And that'll hurt them, player B, because you won't get any, they won't give you any cards, or you won't give them any cards to help. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to be helpful in that game in order to get information.
Yeah,
but
you
you can
kind of
you
do.
can still withhold one or two crucial cards that you know the other person may want. You know what I mean?
Hmm. And not only that, but you can also be like kind of like what I did. I was kind of a jerk when we first played. I knew that it was a revolver or that it wasn't a revolver, and I gave you a card that said something like, "This is not the weapon." So I gave you cards pertaining to that clue that were kind of like repeats, and I actually made sure, like I marked it. I said, "Okay, this he knows that this is not the weapon."
Right. First, you told me it wasn't gunpowder, which eliminated
It,
all of the gun weapons. And
yes.
then you gave me a particular weapon that was a gun that you already told me that it was eliminated from a previous
Exactly.
round. Right.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So you can really, and in that sense, it is actually kind of like the Clue board game, like the
It's rude.
multiplayer.
Like
It is kind of
it's
rude.
how mean do you want to be to your how mean do you want to be to your opponent? Like that
Yeah.
that's there's really no way around that in the two-player game or three-player,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? So that's
And
why I prefer the solo.
yeah, and it's kind of rushed too. Like you have to figure out the solution before the other player. And there's a rush tactic to it too, which but I wasn't too fond of. I still want to play it, two player, three player, four player, just to see um if it gets better or if the strategies are different or if um I don't know, maybe it'll be enjoyable again. Who knows? But
Mhm.
um I don't know. I still wouldn't mind playing it two, three, four players, but this is a fantastic game solo wise.
It's one of the
So
best purchases I ever made. Honestly,
yes,
the board game. I don't know why, but like when I think back with all my board game purchases, this is like top 5%. We're
yeah,
getting so much playtime out of this. It's not typical. We play a game once or twice, and usually that's it, and we come back to it when we can. This game we've played 4, 5, 6 times, and it's only been a month since we've owned it, which is it's
yeah,
absurd. Like I don't have the time for a lot, but we have time for this.
yeah, and is it a long game? It's not really that long,
It's
is
about
it?
our sessions on Twitch are about an hour and a half, 2 hours, but that's
Mm,
because we've got 3 or 4 people not arguing but suggesting different things and trying to justify why they're what. If
mm,
there was one person making the decision, it'd be like an hour.
yeah,
But if you've got multiple people trying to come up with the same solution but want to see different things, then you have to mediate a little bit. That's
hmm.
what takes a little bit longer.
That's another little flaw in the game is that if you're playing a solo, but like slash co-op, where everyone's working together, some people are going to have different opinions on what to pick on the app, so
It comes
it
down
comes
to
down
either
to
a vote
voting.
or how alpha does the host want to be.
True.
You know what I mean?
Oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fantastic game though. I think the creators of this did an amazing job at this game. And I want to see more stuff like this. It reminded me of Alchemist a little bit in the sense that it's like a logic puzzle kind of thing.
Search for Planet X.
Yes, Search for Planet X.
I love those hidden, gotta figure crap out games. I love that.
Hmm.
Alchemists was a little bit too, if I remember it correctly. I remember it was overwhelming to me. Like it made my
Mm.
head hurt. Trying to puzzle this plus green minus red. My brain, like, I don't know what it was it was a 3 hour play session and my brain hurt after the fact.
Mm.
Search for Planet X was a bit lighter and I
Yeah.
enjoyed that more, but I do want to go back to Alchemist to see if I can repuzzle that out, you know?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite games actually. And I might have to relearn it.
Yeah, if you relearn it, let me know, and I'll teach. You can teach it to me.
Sure.
All right. Well, there you go. I think that is all of our lists. I will simply say that the only game that I took off because it was on her list was Awkward Guests. As I mentioned earlier, I wanted to put Terraforming Mars on here. It's a fantastic engine builder game. It's all about terraforming Mars. It's fantastic. Just check out
Yeah.
Terraforming Mars, even the digital version, which is cheaper. There's a bunch of games that I wanted to put on here but didn't. I'll just read them real quick. Star Trek: The Next Generation Deck Builder. I like the co-op mode. Power Grid, the card game. Endangered was another fun co-op. Stardew Valley, the board game. Planetarium was fun. Beyond the Sun. Mysterium Park. It's a game that was on your list, so I left it
Hmm.
off. Lord of the Rings, Journey in Middle. That's another one that I left off. I guess I put them in the wrong pile. The Pursuit of Happiness was one. It was like the game of life, but like on steroids. Star Wars Villainous I enjoyed. Star Wars and the World of Warcraft Pandemic variant games.
Hmm.
Sniper Elite was fun. Foundations of Rome, a very beautiful game, very simple. Age of Civilization, a very meaty card game about civilization. And that's it. So, did you have any games that you wanted to put on here but you didn't?
Oh, there's so many. can't read
What are
through
the
all that.
what's the highlight? What are the which
I
one that
think
tore at you the most?
one of them was Progress of Technology or Evolution or
Yeah,
something like
evolution,
that.
progress of technology. Yep, it's Tech
Um,
Tree the game. Yeah.
yep. Ghostbusters Blackout, the co-op.
Mm-hmm.
Just Desserts
Mm-hmm.
was really good. I liked that one.
Raxon.
Raxon, Boss Monster, I actually really enjoyed it. You said that you didn't enjoy it that
Was
much.
which boss monster? Was that the one where you're
The pixelated
they're
cards.
both pixelated? Is it the one where the heroes are going through the dungeon and you have to put rooms to stop them? Or are you
Yeah.
talking about the more recent boss monster game where it's a grid and you're
No,
putting
no, no.
terrain
That one,
tiles on
not the more recent one. The
okay,
more recent one wasn't that called like
Overture or something?
Monster or something?
It was boss monster. It was a boss monster game, but it was like Overture. I don't remember. But okay, so
Yeah,
it's the older,
but
it's the original boss monster game.
the original Boss Monster is the
Okay,
one I'm
all right.
talking about
Okay.
with the rooms. And then Tiny Epic Dungeons, of course. Meeples and Monsters was actually really fun too. I really enjoyed that one. Sunset Over Water, I wanted to put on my list so bad, but I had no room.
I
So,
see.
so
Okay.
yeah. And
Fair enough.
Living Forest was fun
That was a
actually. I
good one
like that
too.
one.
We had a lot of good games this year. It hurt me not to put them all on here.
Meadow, oh Meadow,
Meta was nice.
I
It
love that
reminded me,
one
is
too.
that the Quadropolis like game where you have to put arrows on the sides?
I don't
To
remember Quadropolis, but yes, the arrows on the sides. And then you have to
Quadropolis
take a
did that too,
tile.
but it was a city builder. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. At the risk of this being too long, I guess we'll just end it here. Thank you for following us and for checking this video out and for sticking with us for about an hour and a half. If you guys haven't already, subscribe to me on Twitch and YouTube. That way you can stay up to date with any new content I happen to publish. This is Vincent Ali. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys next time. Take care.
Bye, guys.